Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of Miyazaki's The Wind Rises in 2013. So yes, we are back, another anime review this time, and yes, back to Miyazaki's work, and yes, so here we are with the Blu-ray of The Wind Rises, spine number 20 in the Studio Ghibli collection, and yes, big film here. I've been looking forward to it, less so than some of the other ones, I'll be honest, but yeah, this one very significant because it is it was until, of course, the announcement that it was meant to be the final Miyazaki feature film. Of course, he was retired, and now he's come out of retirement to make a new film that's coming out 2020/2021. I think it'll be 2021 probably by the time it comes out. But yes, I really look forward to that. Of course, I'm desperate to see that when it comes out. And of course, this was the final one meant to be for that. So very big in that sense, in that kind of right in its own self. I think Miyazaki, one of my top 15 directors. Many people love this guy's work. I don't love all of the 7 I'd seen before this feature films of him. The only one being Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. I thought that was a good film. The rest of them, though, I think are masterpieces. The other 6 that I'd seen from him, all of my favourite films list. Spirited Away is my favourite. This is my top 50. And then, of course, you've got Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle. All these films, Totoro, are absolute wonderful films, true masterpieces of cinema. This guy's a genius, and this film, I think some people would probably say it's one of his lesser films, even though there are people on the other end who'd say it's one of his best films. I've definitely heard some people say it's it's up there with his very best, if not the best. So yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. The only thing I really knew was a kind of what it's about. This aircraft designer. Originally he wants to kind of be a pilot as well, but his nearsighted, so basically it stops him from being a pilot. So of course he becomes an aircraft designer. Airplanes and stuff, and it's a big scope to the film. It covers quite a lot of years. Part of it being in World War II. It's kind of a war film at times. Although, yeah, less so than some of the other ones. Like Grave of the Fireflies and stuff. Although, again, that's not much of a war film as some say, but yes, this film it follows this character of Jiro, and yes, you see him very early on as a kid, and then we've got basically the story of his life and how he came into the business and stuff. You've also got a kind of a romance that happens from the halfway mark really to the end of the film. That's what the rest of the film really mainly focuses on actually. Very interesting there, the structure of the film. So yes, looking up about this, I had doubts. I really did, because an aircraft designer, that could be a really boring film for me. It has to really be done in an engaging way with actual really vibrant characters and stuff, and just really compelling storytelling and stuff. I also hoped it wasn't too much of the specifics on the actual designs and stuff. It's not for me the most interesting of things. Actually how planes and stuff are made. I loved some of the flying scenes and stuff in many of these films, especially not just planes, but just, other parts, kind of fantastical sequences. They're some of my favourite moments in the anime films that I've seen, actually. But yeah, this kind of whole, plot, I'd seen bits of it, read up on it before the film. I had my doubts, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to love this. Literally every other anime I thought pretty much that I could, definitely, I'm going to probably love this film. Mononoke, before I saw it, I thought, well, this is going to be, for me. And then, of course, only yesterday I thought, there's not really any doubt I love this. This film, I really had doubts. That's what I would say. So, yes, even going in with the doubts, I was, I'm definitely, in the minority here. I don't really like the film at all, that much. Yeah, so I was very disappointed. That's just me. It's my opinion. Of course, not that I don't like anime. I love anime. I think definitely some of my favourite films, I've got so many anime films already on my favourite films list. Quite a few, 5 being in my top 100, and that's some fee. So yeah, I do love anime films. So it's not that, it's just, I don't even feel like it feels like a Miyazaki too much, and it lacks so much for me personally. I think it's a real disappointment. Currently my least favourite anime, I do, by quite a bit actually, prefer overall Nausicaa. And I didn't really like that too much. I kind of liked it. That's what I'd say. With this, I wouldn't say I actively dislike it, but I'd say I don't like it. I wouldn't give it a like. And it's very, very average for me, this picture. It starts off though, the first 40 minutes, it started off good / at times actually a bit more than that. I think we'll get out the animation is definitely at times very nice. I think basically the scenery is wonderful in the film. The way that the kind of the weather is incorporated into the film. Just the overall kind of the color palette is very, very nice. I'm not a big fan of the character animations. And it just actually doesn't have too much charm to these animations. A lot of the characters as well, they look kind of generic and very similar to other characters in the film. So not only does that kind of just it just seems less kind of like a living world, but it also kind of confused me slightly with some of the minor characters. But yes, the character of Jiro, I would say as well, definitely one of the most, I actually think is the worst anime protagonist I've seen. Just very, very bland. His motivations, were not that compelling really. It's very standard. I think, yes, he's kind of an artist wanting to create and stuff, but even then, that usually inspires me and stuff. But wow, this it wasn't done in the way that really compelled me. I literally saw no expressions on this character's face throughout most of the film, other than just the standard one he's got the whole time. He's never really truly sad until near the end of the film, and even then, could have been done better. And he's never really he's just very, very one-note character. I was quite shocked actually at how bland this character was. The writing doesn't help. I think there are definitely flaws in the writing. The script could have been a lot better. There was definitely moments, early on that had their flaws, but definitely it was something I did like. I would have probably given it at most a 4 stars, kind of been rounded. An 80% maybe is what I give. Percentages. But yes, it really took a dip after this, and actually, certainly from the hour mark till the end of the film, excluding a couple of flourishes here and there that I kind of liked. I didn't like the film. I thought it was very, very boring. This was dragged out. It just wasn't compelling for me. The romance, I thought, I'd heard the romance comes about halfway in, and I thought, well, I love romances, and done well, so yeah, I'm probably going to like it a lot more, and it'll pick up. I could give it, a higher score. Unfortunately, it gets worse, when this happens. The romance is not good. This character of Nahoko, she's really, really boring for me. Just very, very one note, and yes, they do go for something very, very human, towards the end of the film. But yes, this overall romance was just not compelling for me. I think very, very disappointing stuff. And she wasn't. She was just again a very one-note character. The best character in the film for me is the friend of Jiro. I can't remember his name now, but he was basically in it for quite a lot of the early parts of the film and stuff, and he cropped up again. But really, most of the characters in the film are just not interesting for me. And actually, as I say, the romance just. I think it was just kind of a bit cringy at times, but just very boring. And I couldn't really get invested in it. And towards the end, maybe it picked up a little bit. It was just a bit more human. At least I could connect to what it was doing with different, themes and kind of the mood it went to. The tone was it was definitely at times effective. And stuff and what it said about life and everything. But really, this just wasn't compelling for me overall. And of course, the editing is a real issue for me as well. It starts off in a very different way to a lot of Miyazaki's, especially. He usually, of course, as we know, takes his time. He's one of these guys that really I love when he takes his time to build these worlds. And this is not really a fantasy film at all. It's not at all fantasy, and it's not. I think it actually really suffers even then from the world building, because it really just jumps quite around quite a bit. There's a lot of dream sequences in themselves. Some of the dream sequences early on are good / very good. They're very, very strange at times. But what it does, it kind of jumbles things up, and it just doesn't allow me to really absorb these scenes of exposition or what it's going for, and also just the overall world building. There's a lack of patience, I feel, which is really, really weird to say. It feels rushed, you know, for me. And yeah, just you know, I thought the childhood bits were very good. You know, I think although yeah, the jump was a bit rushed. Maybe it would have been better to stay on this a bit longer. You know, because you've certainly got a lot of adult scenes. You know, the whole film basically. But yes, you know, it starts off. I really liked how, you know, his family and stuff, how that was shown early on. His sister, very charming. You know, and him at school and stuff. And yeah, although I was looking at it, I was kind of thinking, wow, compared to the other animes I've seen, it's the least charming film of the animes. Certainly, I compared it to, you know, films like Whisper of the Heart and Only Yesterday, the school life, you know, this kind of stuff, the childhood, you know, sequences. I found it a bit cold in comparison, and actually in its own right, yeah, a tad cold for my liking, and just a bit, a bit modern, actually, you know, in a way that, you know, just this in terms of the lack of charm and stuff, it just felt a bit too. Yeah, it just felt a bit off. It didn't really feel like a standard, you know, or a normal anime film. You know, the ones that I love. You know, just a bit cold. And certainly in the second half, it was quite cold for me. But yes, it did have something going for it. But you know, I think overall, very very disappointing film. You know, I think after, as I say, the 45 minute mark, maybe the rest of the film, I really didn't like actually too much. I thought at best it was kind of average after this, and yeah, just very very disappointing. The animation, as I say, is not even that. It's great for me. The music by Joe Hisashi. It's not a score that I'd listen to again, so I really am struggling here. You know, I think I can't actually, you know, I can't say I love the score. I wouldn't, you know, listen to it, which I do with so many anime, you know, scores, especially Hisashi ones. I wouldn't listen to it really again, you know, and stuff. Out of choice, in my spare time and stuff, I listen to music a lot, especially film scores and stuff. But this one, it was, yeah, you could even say it was lovely at times, but just underwhelming overall. I think not something that really stands out to me, which is really really shocking. This film is really disappointing for me. But again, of course, I can see why people love the film. I don't quite get, you know, on the front though, perhaps the greatest animated film ever made. It actually says it on the front. That had me scratching my head. Really, really shocking. You know, I don't get that at all. Of course, I have nothing against, you know, that. I just don't get it. You know, I don't understand that. You know, because this is, yeah, it's certainly nowhere close for me, and it's the worst anime film that I've seen personally. But yeah, I think these characters overall, as I say, there's mainly just one character who I really liked. The rest of them just very bland. This film, you know, the things I'd praise is the music. Yes, you know, some of the dream sequences, you know, I think definitely had an effect, and just yeah, I think even then, you know, the comedy, there is some parts I would praise, but definitely it fails a lot of time on the comedy. But yeah, I think the first 45 minutes is the stuff I'd really praise. After that, I can't really say much more about the film. I think it just becomes a film, you know, I didn't really care about the characters' motivations in the end. I didn't care too much for the relationships, you know, especially the romance, which is really, really shocking for me to not get invested, especially in anime romance and stuff. They're always really, really, really charming and just, you know, true to life and stuff. But wow, it's just really underwhelming. Yeah, it's obviously a negative review, but it's not. It's just an honest review, I think. You know, if a review is honest and it can be, you know, justified, I think it is positive because I do love, you know, Miyazaki's work overall, of course. One of my top 15 directors, just behind Ozu, of course, is my favourite Japanese director, you know, and of course, yeah, I think a disappointing work. So yes, overall, I think I'd have to give this film a 60% because I think, yes, it was not bad, this film overall. I really didn't like a lot of the film after the 45-minute mark, you know, not that I absolutely flat out hated the film. It had some humanity, of course, and it was at times, you know, all I can say, you know, the best praise I can give it at times after this is it's nice, but it's not compelling for me. It's very flat. You know, the characters mostly aren't well written for me. You know, it really relies. What it you know stops the film from being, you know, kind of weak. Certainly at best is yes, some of the animation, not the character designs really for me, but yes, the overall animation and the music and just. Yeah, maybe one or two of the other characters, but I didn't really like a lot of the kind of side characters in the film. I felt they lacked a lot of charm and just I didn't like the film overall. I think I didn't, as I said, I don't actively dislike this film overall. I did like slash, kind of maybe really like, as far as I'll go. Some of the first 45 minutes is actually a time where it's getting a bit better, until that mark, and then boom, kind of just really takes a, downturn and just never recovers from my overall investment. I don't like the film. I didn't enjoy my experience. I was very bored. I think it really lacked, the film itself lacked patience. But again, to wrap up, I've kind of rambled a bit here. I was very disappointed, of course. I expected more, but yes, luckily, of course, Miyazaki is making, another film. So I really, really look forward to that. Can't wait to see what this genius filmmaker comes up with next. Because, of course, as I say, I really love, this director. He's in my top 15. That's pretty much as high as the praise I can give someone. Apart from, kind of top 10. Higher than that. Top 8 is when it really starts to get into ones, that are, the best directors for me. But yes, this guy's pretty close to that mark. Just kind of around that mark. So yes, I do love Miyazaki's work. This one is the only one I don't like, and it's worse than Nausicaa for me. So yeah, I'm not bashing on the film. I didn't feel too strongly for it. Flat, kind of lacks a lot of comedy, lacks a lot of charm, for sure, and just definitely underwhelming in quite a few categories. As I say, the animation even, and yes, compared to a lot of the other works, the score, definitely. I wouldn't say this is a standout score at all. The character of Jiro, definitely the worst protagonist in a anime film, and I couldn't get behind this guy really for the most of the film. So yeah, thanks for watching, of course. Again, I do love anime. This is just the one that unfortunately not. Real shame. I was really looking forward to this, and kind of, I had my doubts, but I always have doubts, and in the back of my mind, I think, I probably will love the film, but I really didn't love the film. Didn't actually like the film. So yes, disappointments aside, I'd recommend it, of course, because most people love the film, and I think most people, would love this film, or at least like it. Just wasn't for me personally, really. It's just an anime, an odd one out for me, really. That I didn't really like too much. So yes, thanks for watching, of course. More anime reviews coming. I've got to buy more, of course. Porco Rosso and Castle of the Cagliostro. Some of the other ones as well. I'm going to be, buying soon. And just in general animation. I'm going to be doing more Disney's, of course. Get back onto them. And yes, thanks for watching my review.